Service entrance is around the back, ma'am. The guard didn't even look at me when he said it, just tapped his clipboard like I was another delivery driver who got lost. I followed his finger. Around the back. For a second, I thought I heard it wrong. "I'm here for the engagement party," I said, keeping my voice steady. He flipped a page, scanned a list, then nodded like that confirmed everything. "Yes, you're on the list. Service entrance only." That's when I saw her. Through the glass doors, past the marble lobby. My mother. Standing there in her silk dress, watching the whole thing. She didn't look confused. She didn't step in. She smiled. Not the kind of smile you give when something awkward happens. Not the kind you fix. This one, she enjoyed. And just like that, it made sense. This wasn't a mistake. This was intentional. I stood there for a moment, feeling every pair of invisible eyes that weren't actually looking at me, but somehow still judging. Like I didn't belong at my own sister's engagement party. Like I was something that needed to be managed, hidden. I could have walked away right then. Honestly, part of me wanted to. But I didn't. Because 6 months earlier, something had changed. Something none of them knew about. And tonight was the first time it was going to matter. I adjusted my dress. Simple, black, nothing that would draw attention. I had learned a long time ago not to compete for it in this family. Not when everything always revolved around Brooke. Brooke with her perfect life. Brooke with her perfect fiancé. Brooke, who somehow always managed to be the version of a daughter my mother actually wanted. And me? I was background. Even now, standing outside a building I had every right to walk into through the front door, I was still being redirected, like I didn't quite belong in the picture. The guard cleared his throat. "Ma'am?" "Right, the back entrance." I gave one last glance through the glass. My mother was still smiling, so I turned and walked around the building. Because if they wanted me to come in that way, fine, I would. The kitchen door swung shut behind me with a dull, metallic thud. The noise lingered longer than it should have, maybe because it felt like something else had just closed too. I walked past stainless steel counters and stacks of plated appetizers, the staff moving quickly around me, but not one of them stopped me. Not one of them questioned why I came in this way. That part wasn't new. What was new was how calm I felt, because this wasn't the first time I'd been quietly pushed to the side. It was just the first time I actually understood what I was looking at. It hadn't started tonight. It never does. I found out about the engagement the same way strangers did. Scrolling. A photo of Brooke's hand, perfectly posed, a diamond catching the light. She said yes. That was it. No call, no message. No, "Hey, just wanted you to know." Just a post. I stared at it longer than I should have. Not because of the ring. Not even because of the fiancé, Colin Ashford, from a family my mother would absolutely obsess over. It was the comments. "So happy for you! Perfect couple. Your family must be so proud." I almost laughed at that last one, because I hadn't even been included in the moment. 3 days later, my phone rang. "Cassidy." No greeting, just my name. Flat, controlled. "The engagement party is Saturday, Meridian Hotel." Of course it was. "You'll need to dress appropriately," she added. "Colin's family is particular." I waited. Nothing else came. No, "We'd love for you to be there." No, "It wouldn't be the same without you." Just instructions and a warning. Don't embarrass your sister. The line went quiet after that. Not disconnected, just waiting. Like I was expected to agree. "I'll be there," I said finally. "Good." Click. I stood there for a long time after the call ended, phone still in my hand. And somehow, that conversation didn't surprise me either. It reminded me of something. Thanksgiving, 2 years ago. My mother had invited a group of women over, Her book club, I think. They were all gathered around the dining table, wine glasses in hand, laughing about something I hadn't been part of. Brooke was standing next to her, dressed like she had somewhere more important to be. "Let me introduce my daughters," my mother said, smiling. She turned to Brooke first. "This is Brooke. She just got promoted again. Marketing director now." There were impressed murmurs, compliments, questions. Brooke handled it all effortlessly, like she'd done it 100 times before. Then my mother gestured toward me. "And this is Cassidy. She's still figuring things out." A light laugh followed. Not cruel, not loud, just enough. I remember standing there, holding a plate I didn't even want, realizing something I hadn't fully admitted to myself before. They didn't see me, not really. And the truth was, they never had. It wasn't like I had been hiding my life. I didn't lie. I didn't pretend. They just never asked. Every conversation circled back to Brooke, her job, her apartment, her relationship. Meanwhile, I had been building something of my own, quietly. Piece by piece. The first property almost destroyed me. Small bed and breakfast upstate. I had gone to my mother before buying it. "I just need a loan," I told her. "I have a plan. I've run the numbers." She laughed. Actually laughed. "That's not a real business, Cassidy. That's a hobby people lose money on." So I went to the bank instead. 18% interest. I signed anyway. That first year, I barely slept. Every dollar mattered. Every mistake felt like it might end everything. But it didn't. It worked. Then I bought another. Then another. And somewhere along the way, the silence from my family stopped bothering me, because I stopped expecting anything from them. I didn't need their approval. At least, that's what I told myself. But standing in that kitchen now, remembering all of it, it landed differently. Because tonight proved something I hadn't wanted to admit. It didn't matter what I built. To them, I was still the same version of me they had already decided on, and nothing I did had ever changed that. I pushed through the next door, stepping into the dimly lit corridor that led toward the ballroom. Music drifted faintly through the walls. Laughter, glasses clinking, a celebration I had technically been invited to, just not welcomed into. My hand brushed lightly against the wall as I walked, and for the first time, a thought settled in clearly. If they were so comfortable putting me in the background, then maybe it was time I stopped playing that role. I slowed near the entrance, took a breath, and stepped forward. I should have kept walking. Instead, I stopped just outside the ballroom doors when my phone buzzed. An email. Garrett. I opened it without thinking much of it at first. He was the general manager at the Meridian, precise to the point of obsession, and he rarely sent anything that wasn't necessary. If he was contacting me on the day of a private event, there was a reason. The subject line read, "Guest access notes, tonight's event." A strange chill went through me before I even clicked. Attached was a scanned event document, vendor timing, guest flow, VIP seating, security notes, routine stuff. Then I saw the highlighted section. Alternative arrival instructions. A short list of names. I recognized mine immediately. I read the line once. Then again. Then a third time, slower. My full name was there, followed by a note entered by the event host. If she arrives, do not allow entry through the front. Direct her through staff access only. No explanation, no attempt to hide what it was. Just a clean, deliberate instruction that turned me into a problem to be handled. My thumb hovered over the screen. For 1 second, just one, I actually wondered if there was some bizarre misunderstanding. Then I saw the signature attached to the request. Brooke. Not an assistant, not a planner, not some overprotective coordinator trying to organize traffic. My sister. I felt heat rise up my neck so fast it almost made me dizzy. It wasn't enough that I'd been an afterthought. It wasn't enough that the invitation came wrapped in warning. She had gone out of her way to make sure that if I showed up, I would be quietly filtered out of sight before I even crossed the lobby. Like I was embarrassing by default, Like my presence needed to be managed. Garrett had added a note beneath the attachment. Ms. Mercer, I thought this request was unusual given your connection to the property. I have not acted beyond informing the team. Please let me know if you'd like me to correct it. I stared at those words for a long moment. Correct it. That would have been easy. One message and the entire thing would disappear. Front desk alerted. Security updated. Brooke's little plan erased before she ever got the satisfaction. My fingers moved to reply, then stopped. Because suddenly, I didn't want it corrected. I wanted them to mean it. I wanted every smug choice, every dismissive decision, every carefully arranged humiliation to remain exactly where they had put it. Visible, documented, real. So I typed back. Do nothing. Leave everything exactly as requested. I'll handle it myself. I hit send before I could rethink it. The moment the email left my outbox, something inside me settled. Not anger. Not exactly. Clarity. That was the first moment I stopped hoping the night might somehow improve. I stepped away from the ballroom entrance and found a quiet corner near the side corridor, then called the one person I knew wouldn't tell me to let it go. Weston picked up on the second ring. Hey, he said. Everything okay? I gave a short laugh with no humor in it. Depends how you define okay. His tone changed instantly. What happened? I told him, not dramatically, not all at once, just the facts, one after another. The post, the call, the service entrance note, my name on an actual access list like I was some liability to the aesthetic. By the time I finished, he was silent for half a beat. Then, they did that at your hotel? Yes. At a property you own? Yes. Brooke personally requested it? Yes. He exhaled hard. Cassidy. That one word held more outrage than most people could manage in a full speech. I leaned against the wall, staring at nothing. I know. No, I don't think you do. His voice sharpened. This isn't your family being rude. This is intentional humiliation with a paper trail. That's why I called. Another pause. Then I heard the click of a turn signal through his speaker. He was already moving. What are you planning? He asked. I looked through the narrow opening in the ballroom doors. Crystal lights, floral arrangements, servers gliding between tables. Everything polished, expensive, perfect. I'm not stopping the event, I said quietly. I'm not warning them. I'm not changing a single thing. Weston understood faster than most people would have. You're going to let them walk straight into it. Yes. Good. That answer almost made me smile. He had been my friend since college, back when my life fit into one dorm room and a stack of unpaid bills. He'd seen me eating vending machine dinners while trying to draft financing proposals at 2 a.m. He'd seen me close my first property, seen me nearly lose it, seen me fight my way back. At some point, he'd become my attorney, but before that, he was the person who knew exactly how much it took for me to reach a line. And he knew, without needing it explained, that they had crossed one. I'm coming, he said. You don't have to. I know. I'm still coming. I closed my eyes briefly. Weston? No. Listen to me. If this turns ugly, I want documentation with me, and I want to be there when someone suddenly pretends they didn't know who you are. That was the thing about Weston. He never softened the truth to make it easier to carry. Bring whatever proves ownership, he continued. Clean copies. Acquisition records, transfer docs, operating authority. Everything someone with money and a fragile ego might demand to see when the room shifts. I let out a slow breath. You really think it'll come to that? With people like this, he said, I think the only thing worse than being cruel is being caught being cruel to the wrong person. That landed because that was exactly what tonight was about to become. Not just cruelty, exposure. All right, I said. Come as my guest. I'll meet you there. He paused, then added more softly. You sure you want to go through with this? I looked again toward the ballroom, toward the celebration, toward the family that had never once asked enough questions to know what I had built with my life. My answer came easily. Yes. Then don't back down. When the call ended, I stayed where I was for another minute, phone still in my hand. I thought about all the times I had made myself smaller to keep the peace, all the times I swallowed the insult before it could turn into conflict, all the times I told myself it wasn't worth making a scene. But this wasn't about making a scene. It was about no longer volunteering to be erased. By the time I left the corridor, I already knew what I was going to do. I wasn't going to warn them. I wasn't going to protect them from the consequences of what they had arranged. I was going to let the night unfold exactly the way they wanted, and then I was going to walk into it. I didn't rush. That was the first difference. Every other time in my life, when something felt off with my family, I either explained myself or I tried to fix it. Not tonight. Tonight, I moved exactly as slow as I wanted to. By the time I reached the front of the hotel again, the sky had already turned deep blue, the kind of evening that made everything look more expensive than it really was. The entrance was glowing, soft lights, polished glass, perfectly dressed staff, and the same guard was still there. He recognized me immediately. There was a flicker of discomfort this time, not enough to stop what he was about to say, but enough that I knew he remembered. Ma'am, he started, already shifting his weight. Like I mentioned earlier, I remember, I said calmly. He hesitated. I stepped closer, just enough to close the distance between us, but not enough to challenge him physically. My tone stayed even. I just want to confirm something, I added. You're refusing me entry through the main lobby? His eyes dropped briefly to the clipboard again, like he needed permission from a piece of paper. I'm following the instructions provided for the event, he said. Right. I nodded once, not angry, not loud, just acknowledging. Behind him, through the glass, the lobby stretched out, marble floors, chandeliers reflecting soft gold light, guests moving in small clusters. Laughter, champagne, everything exactly the way it was supposed to look. And right there, my mother, still inside, still watching. This time, she didn't even pretend not to notice me. Her eyes met mine directly, and again, that smile. It was subtle, controlled, but unmistakable. She wanted me to feel it. The exclusion, the message, the hierarchy. For a second, something inside me tightened, something old, familiar. The part of me that used to shrink in moments like this. The part that used to wonder what I had done wrong. But that part didn't get to speak tonight. Instead, I gave a small, almost polite smile back. Understood, I said to the guard. Then I stepped away. No argument, no scene. Just turned and walked around the side of the building. The air shifted the moment I left the front entrance behind. The music faded, replaced by the low hum of machinery, the occasional clang of metal from inside the service corridors. The back of the hotel wasn't meant to be seen. Concrete walls, utility doors, a narrow path where delivery trucks would pull in earlier in the day. The contrast to the front was almost absurd, and that was the point. This was where they thought I belonged. I reached the service door and pushed it open. Heat hit me first, then noise. The kitchen was alive, orders being called out, pans clattering, staff moving in fast, efficient patterns. No one noticed me at first. Then one person did. A line cook looked up mid-motion, his eyes landing on me, and then widening just slightly. He didn't say anything, but he didn't look confused either. Another staff member noticed. Then another. The shift was subtle, but it moved through the room quickly. Recognition. Not of me as a guest, but something else. Something they didn't voice. Evening, I said, keeping my tone light. No one stopped me. No one asked me why I was coming through this door. That told me everything. I walked past prep stations, past stacks of plated desserts, past a chef who had just frozen mid-instruction the moment he saw me. "Everything running smoothly?" I asked as I passed. He nodded too quickly. "Yes, ma'am." Ma'am. Not guest, not visitor. I held his gaze for half a second, then gave a small nod and kept moving. Because tonight, I wasn't here as the owner. Not yet. I pushed through the next set of doors, stepping into a quieter corridor that led directly toward the ballroom. The noise shifted again. Music, softer now, filtered through walls. The low murmur of voices layered over it. I slowed as I approached the entrance. Not because I was nervous, because I wanted to take it in. The double doors were slightly open, just enough for me to see inside. Gold accents everywhere, floral arrangements cascading over tables. A string quartet playing near the far wall. Guests dressed in tailored suits and elegant gowns, moving through the space like it was something out of a magazine. At the center of it all, Brooke, laughing, radiant, exactly where she believed she belonged. For a brief moment, I just stood there, watching. Not with jealousy, not even with anger, just clarity. This was the world they had built. The version of reality where she was everything. And I was an afterthought they managed behind the scenes. And tonight, they had gone one step further. They hadn't just overlooked me, they had actively placed me out of sight. I reached up, smoothing a loose strand of hair back into place, adjusted the line of my dress. Simple, clean, unremarkable, exactly how they expected me to show up. A quiet presence, easy to ignore. I stepped forward. No announcement, no hesitation. Just slipped along the edge of the room, blending into the space like I had done 100 times before. No one stopped me. No one questioned me. Because no one was looking for me. And for a while, I let it stay that way. A server passed by me with a tray of champagne. I took one without asking. Not because I wanted it, but because it made me look like I belonged. That was the rule in rooms like this. If you acted like you were supposed to be there, most people wouldn't question it. So I stood near the edge of the ballroom, glass in hand, watching, listening, waiting. The music softened gradually, almost unnoticeable at first, until conversations began to settle. Chairs shifted. Attention redirected toward the small stage at the center. Brooke stepped up. Of course she did. She didn't rush either, but for a different reason. Every movement was deliberate, practiced. The way she smiled, the way she held the microphone, the way she let the room quiet before speaking. She knew exactly how to own a moment. "Thank you all for being here tonight," she began, her voice smooth, confident. "This means everything to us." Soft applause. She continued, thanking friends, family, Colin's parents, each mention perfectly balanced, carefully chosen. It was impressive, in a way. Until it wasn't. "Some people in this room," she said lightly, "have really shown what commitment looks like." Her eyes moved across the crowd. Then, just for a second, they landed on me. Barely a glance. Easy to miss if you weren't paying attention. "But not everyone understands that," she added, with a small, almost playful shrug. A few polite laughs followed. Nothing loud, nothing obvious. But enough to land. I didn't move, didn't react, didn't give her anything, because I knew exactly what she was doing. Say it without saying it. Make it sound harmless so anyone who questioned it would look like they were overreacting. I took a small sip of champagne, letting the silence settle around me. Then my mother stood up. Of course she did. She didn't need a microphone right away. The room leaned toward her naturally. "When Brooke was born," she said, smiling in that way people trust instantly, "I knew she was going to be extraordinary." There it was again, that certainty, that quiet elevation. She spoke about Brooke's discipline, her focus, her ability to build something meaningful. Every word polished, every sentence reinforcing the same idea. This one mattered. Then someone near her table said something, too low for most of the room to hear, but not low enough. I thought she had another daughter. It was casual, curious, not malicious. My mother didn't hesitate. Cassidy is... She paused just long enough to make it feel thoughtful. Still figuring things out. There was a soft ripple of polite acknowledgement. No one challenged it. Why would they? That was the version of me they had been given, and I had been quiet long enough for it to stick. Across the room, I saw Weston. He had arrived. I hadn't noticed when. He stood near the bar, posture relaxed, but his expression wasn't. His eyes were fixed on my mother, then shifted to Brooke, then back to me. His jaw tightened. I gave the smallest shake of my head. Not yet. He understood. He always did. The speeches ended. Applause filled the room again. Music slowly returned. Conversations picked back up like nothing had happened. Like nothing had been said. Like I hadn't just been dismissed in front of 200 people. I set my glass down on a passing tray. I didn't need it anymore. Cassidy? I turned. Brooke stood a few feet away, her smile already in place, but thinner now. Less natural. You came, she said, like it surprised her. I was invited, I replied. Her eyes flicked over my dress. Simple, understated. Exactly what she expected. That's good, she said. I wasn't sure you'd feel comfortable here. Comfortable. I let that word hang for a second. I'm fine, I said. She nodded, but her expression didn't soften. You know how it is, she continued, lowering her voice slightly. Colin's family, they have certain expectations. Of what? I asked. She hesitated, then smiled again, brighter this time, but it didn't reach her eyes. Of people fitting in. There it was, clearer now, not hidden behind jokes or speeches. Direct. And I don't? I asked. She didn't answer immediately, which was answer enough. You've always done your own thing, she said carefully. Which is great, really. But this is different. Different. Better. More important. She started to turn away, like the conversation was already over. Then she paused. Something occurred to her. She looked back at me, a small crease forming between her brows. Wait, she said. How did you get in? I didn't speak. Her eyes sharpened slightly. I made it very clear to security. She stopped herself. Too late. I held her gaze. You made what clear, Brooke? Her lips pressed together. I just meant there were instructions, she said quickly. For guest flow. Right. I nodded once. I followed them. That seemed to confuse her more, because I wasn't reacting the way she expected. No embarrassment, no defensiveness, no apology, just calm. And that unsettled her. I saw it in the way her posture shifted slightly, in the way her confidence didn't quite sit the same anymore. Behind her, movement caught my attention. Garrett. Walking toward us. Not hurried, not uncertain. Measured. Deliberate. Professional. But there was something in the way he carried himself tonight. Something different. Something precise. Like he knew exactly where this moment was going. He stopped just close enough for others nearby to hear. Ms. Mercer, he said. Clear, respectful. Formal, but louder than necessary. I need your input on a small issue with the menu. The room didn't go silent. Not yet. But it shifted. Just slightly. Because of one word. Input. And the way he said my name. I turned toward him slowly. Of course, I said. And in that moment, everything started to change. Garrett didn't look at Brooke. He didn't look at my mother either. He looked at me. The supplier flagged an issue with the salmon, he continued, calm and precise. We have an alternative ready, but I'll need your approval before we proceed. The word landed differently this time. Approval. Not suggestion, not preference. Authority. The people closest to us started to quiet. Conversations didn't stop completely, but they slowed. Heads turned just slightly, like something in the air had shifted and no one wanted to be the first to react. Brooke let out a small, confused laugh. "I'm sorry, what?" Garrett didn't answer her. I held his gaze for a moment, then nodded once. "Go with the replacement. Make sure it's plated the same way." "Of course," he said. And just like that, it was done. No explanation, no announcement, just a simple exchange that didn't match the version of me everyone in that room thought they understood. Garrett stepped away. The silence that followed wasn't loud, but it spread. Slowly, uncomfortably. Brooke's smile faded first. "What was that?" she asked, her voice lower now. I didn't answer immediately, because I could feel it. The shift, not just in her, but in the room, in the way people were looking at me now, not dismissing, not ignoring, trying to place me. My mother stepped closer, her hand tightening around her glass. "Cassidy," she said, forcing a small laugh, "what exactly is going on?" There it was, not concern, not curiosity, control. I turned toward her, calm, steady, the same way I had been all night. "I thought it was obvious," I said. It wasn't. And that was the point. Before either of them could respond, another presence joined us. Colin's mother, Margaret. She carried herself like someone who never had to raise her voice to be heard. Every step measured, every expression controlled. "I'd like some clarification," she said, looking directly at me. No hostility, just expectation. "Of course," I replied. Her eyes didn't leave mine. "You were just consulted on a decision regarding this event, as if the final call belonged to you." I held that moment, didn't rush it, because for the first time all night, no one was interrupting me. "Yes," I said simply. A pause. Then she asked the question everyone else was thinking. "Why?" I could feel Brooke beside me, tense now. My mother's attention locked in, waiting for me to say something they could dismiss. Something small, something harmless. Instead, I said the only thing that mattered. "Because I own the hotel." No one spoke, not immediately. The silence didn't hit all at once. It moved through the room in waves, one conversation stopping, then another, until it reached us. Brooke's expression didn't change right away. It just stalled. Like her brain hadn't caught up yet. "That's not funny," she said too quickly. "I'm not joking." My mother shook her head, already dismissing it. "Cassidy, this isn't the time for—" "It's been 6 months," I said, cutting in, not louder, just firm. "Full acquisition, no partners." That's when it started to land, not just with them, but with everyone close enough to hear. Margaret's gaze sharpened slightly. "Is that true?" "Yes." She studied me for a second longer, then turned, slowly, to my mother. "You told me she was struggling," she said. My mother opened her mouth, closed it. "I didn't know," she said finally, but even to her own ears it sounded weak. Margaret didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. "You didn't know what your own daughter has built?" she asked. No answer came, because there wasn't one. Weston stepped forward then, right on cue. He didn't make a scene. He didn't rush. He simply placed a folder in Margaret's hands. "Documentation," he said calmly, "in case there are any questions." She flipped through the pages with practiced ease. Titles, signatures, transfers, everything clear, everything real. When she looked up again, her expression had changed. Not impressed, not exactly, but something close. "I see," she said quietly. Then her attention shifted again, to my mother. "And you had her enter through the service door." That one sentence landed harder than anything else. Because it stripped everything down to what it actually was. Not a misunderstanding, not an oversight. A choice. My mother reached for my arm, her voice dropping into something urgent. Cassidy, please, this isn't... I stepped back before she could touch me. No, I said. Still calm, but final. You don't get to fix this now. Her face tightened. You're making a scene. I almost smiled at that. I didn't do anything, I said. I showed up exactly how you wanted me to. That hit, because it was true. I looked at Brooke next. For the first time all night, she didn't have anything to say. No polished response. No controlled smile. Just silence. I'm not here to embarrass you, I continued. I'm here because you've spent years deciding who I am without ever asking. I let that sit for a second, then added, softer. I'm done letting that version of me stand. No one stopped me when I turned. No one tried to redirect me. This time, I walked straight through the front, the same doors I had been denied earlier. The doorman opened them immediately, his posture straight, his tone respectful. Good evening, ma'am. No hesitation. No question. Just recognition. The air outside felt different. Cooler. Quieter. I stepped onto the sidewalk and paused for a moment, letting everything settle behind me. The music was still going inside. The party hadn't stopped. But something had shifted. Not in them, in me. Because for the first time, I didn't feel like I had something to prove. I had already done that, a long time ago. They just hadn't been paying attention. And maybe that was the point. Your worth doesn't change just because someone refuses to see it. But the moment you stop trying to convince them, that's when everything else starts to. I took a breath, then started walking. No rush. No wait. Just forward. What would you have done in my place?